Hey guys, how you doing? JP Sarricolea here, and welcome again to another episode of Age of Heroes, my podcast. Thank you to those who are watching this through YouTube, and thank you to those who are listening through iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Castbox, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Spotify, all the different platforms. Thank you very much. And I want to apologize first. I want to apologize to, that I haven't really done much in this podcast in the last couple of weeks. I've been busy building my main YouTube channel, JP Sarrireviews, and also taking time to do live streams through my gaming channel, JP Sarri Gaming. The links are in the description if you are not a follower there. But I'm concentrating on that. And it's because, of course, because of the pandemic, a lot of people are home and they're searching for content online, particularly in YouTube. And that has allowed, unfortunately, because, of course, I'm not a fan of the pandemic or the COVID-19, but it has allowed my channel to grow and, experience that growth in the last couple of weeks, I would say the last 2 months. And that's good on that part. So I try to concentrate on that because that's my job. That's what I do for a living, technically. Although I don't really make a lot of money out of it. I really don't make a lot of money out of it. It's my source of income. So also I want to, ask you to consider to become a partner of this vision. You can do that through Patreon on a monthly basis. Any amount helps. Or you can do that through GoFundMe. That really helps a lot as well. Or through, you can do that through PayPal. There's so many ways you can do it. I ask you again to consider that. If you cannot, I'm okay with that as well. The fact that you're here listening or watching really helps a lot. So you can always share this with your friends through social media, through, the links. You can share that through Facebook, through Instagram, through, in this case, Twitter. So there's so many ways you can really be a part of, leave comments if you're watching in YouTube, liking, sharing, all of that really helps a lot. So once again, thank you very much. But yes, guys, this has been an interesting week, particularly in the movie world, in the entertainment world. And I see that a lot of the things that I talk about in this podcast have to do with entertainment. It's a bit big, I was going through all the different videos and I noticed, and the podcast, and I noticed that I talk about entertainment more than I talk about anything else, comics or collectibles or gaming. I think that's up there, and gaming is also very close. But it's a big part of it, and I do that because the movies that I talk about mostly are connected to the comics world, and they're a big part of it. So right now, you cannot really separate one from the other. Yes, we can make separation between comics and movies, but they are so linked together because the movies are based on the comics. And, and at the end of the day, that's pretty much it. The reason why we love these movies, the reason why we watch them in the first place, because they are pretty much a representation, interpretation of the characters that we grew up watching. So right now it's been crazy, particularly on the DC side, on the Warner Brothers side. It's been, I would say, crazy. We got a lot of news, interesting news, important news. A lot of people are happy. Some people are sad. And of course, it always creates a lot of controversy. It seems that Warner Brothers, DC is always surrounded by controversy. I think they thrive in controversy more than Marvel does. Is the way they do it. But of course, I always start with Robert Pattinson, that he was interviewed by GQ, I would say maybe over a week ago, or probably more than that, 2 weeks ago. But the conversation started after what he said to GQ. He was asked what he was doing. Technically, he was asked what he was doing during this pandemic. He was training at home, for the role of Batman, right now that everything is pretty much on a standstill. And he said that he hasn't been working out. And then he also mentioned that, of course, in the 70s, people didn't work out as much. He doesn't see the need of working out all the time. Of course, this was taken out of proportion, honestly, to be honest. At first I was upset when I heard that, because I didn't read the article from GQ. I read the article from someone else, and they were talking about that, a lot of people, fans were saying that he needs to concentrate on, on the role of Batman, and he needs to get in shape. And, I say, I thought that he was saying that he's not working out to do the role of Batman. But no, he was talking about that he's not working out right now in this pandemic. Doesn't mean, of course, when everything resumes that he can work out. And they also were using the example of Zoe Kravitz, that she's going to play Catwoman, that she's been working like 5 days a week while she's on the pandemic. And saying that she is doing what she's supposed to, he's not. Now, I got to be honest with you. I don't see the problem here. I understand what he's saying. right now we live in extraordinary times. All of us, not only actors, not only us, but actors as well. They're in this pandemic. People are home. And when you're home, it's so easy to get entangled with other things besides just doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's just simple as that. If you work from home, I've been working from home in this channel since last year, but I worked from home many times before. It's not an easy thing. You have to really force yourself to do certain things. Even eating well, exercise, and all of that. It's not a simple matter. And of course, some people thrive in social environment. They thrive. It's easy for them to go to the gym because they need the social interaction at the gym so they can work out. Some people, they can do it at home and they're fine with that. Some people don't like to go to the gym because they don't like the social interaction. So everyone is different. So in my opinion, I'm saying, like he's saying, he's being honest. I have been doing it. He's not making apologies for it. But he said, yeah, in the 70s, people were crazy about it because it's true. We live in a society where people feel that you have to be working out all the time. It seems like nowadays people, and it's good, it's healthy. I understand. Although I don't work out, I gotta be honest with you. I come from a family that has always worked out. My parents, my mother, she owned gyms when I was a kid. She was a physical therapist. So she's a physical therapist. Of course, she's retired now. She doesn't do that anymore, but she was a physical therapist, and she was so involved in the 80s and I would say even in the 70s and 80s, she was involved in that movement, the exercise. And my mother's side of the family, they're all into fitness. And they have always been, as part of the jobs, they have businesses on that, and they will go into school for that. So all of that, to me, it's like, I grew up around it. And yes, back in the day, people work out, but it was not a common practice, like as we do nowadays. And nowadays, people are more in tune with that, and it's fine. But he's saying, like, it has become also a culture and a subculture to the point where people feel that if they don't work out, their life comes down. They feel that their life is falling apart. And that's just more mental. That's just more a problem that we have, that we think that we need to fit our time doing stuff. And that really speaks volumes of this society that cannot really stand still. And we can see the proof right now with everything that is happening in the world with this pandemic, with the, a lot of people, manifesting against to be, staying at home because they cannot stand still. Unfortunately, that really speaks volumes of the society we live in, that really people, they feel that they need to cram their time with activities instead of just finding time just to even think. People feel that if they're not hanging out with other people, they're not productive. So in many ways, I can say that maybe that's the reason why. Maybe he doesn't, he feels depressed at home. Maybe he feels lonely. Maybe he doesn't like just to be by home. And, many people, when they're home, they go into this, pretty much hermit mode where just watching television, eating pizza, whatever. It's just, we all been through that. So I don't make it as some people are saying. I think that when things go back to normal, hopefully, soon, then of course some people go back to that regimen. And I don't think he is even overweight or anything. He's never been. So I can see maybe he has the genes. He's the type of person that maybe doesn't even, he's skinny. So I'm sure that he doesn't even gain a pound. Some people gain a pound just by looking at food. Some people don't. So I would say that I don't see the problem with that. So I would say that that's more like a sensational news that we see nowadays. And they changed everything. They changed the context of the conversation. So when I went and read, in this case, the interview, I realized there's nothing that he's saying that, oh, I'm not going to work out for the role, saying that you shouldn't work out for the role. He's just saying that. Some people might thrive doing it by themselves. Other people don't. So I would say it's too extreme just to take a side right now and to say, well, he should do that. And ultimately, I'm nobody to tell this person how to live his life. That's his life. That's his freedom. He wants to do whatever he wants to do. Ultimately, whatever happens in the film, we'll know. I think people demanding for him to work out, that's just stupid. You cannot tell people what to do in that sense. I feel that whatever you do, yes, the government tells us we need to stay home, and whatever we do in our home is our private life. And, you have to respect that. So that's just my thought on that. But there was another thing this week. With Ruby Rose moving away or quitting in this case, not Catwoman, Batwoman. the CW Batwoman. And of course, a lot of people that had been, of course, social media, all the news, all the outlets, they're expressing the idea. They're making, conspiracy theories about what happened. Some people saying it's because she quit or she was fired because, and, some people saying it's because there was some tension. She had some tension because of the long hours that she had to spend at the studio filming and all that. Some people are saying that that's not right. If you have a job, you should finish it and all of that. So it's been like that. I would say I don't have a problem with that. I gotta be honest with you. I even talked about this in the podcast when she was cast for the role last year. I was okay with that. I have my considerations in regards to what actually DC is doing and the message they're trying to portray with this type of characters. The woke mentality or the woke culture that we live nowadays. But it is what it is, to be honest, I enjoy, even though she made, really not much of a fuss, I would say she was part of the Elseworlds storyline with the CW. It was fine. I wouldn't say that I was crazy with her. She was fine. She was another character added to it. It was interesting. I should have reviewed this in my channel, when they came out, but I didn't. Maybe I do it one day. So I was fine with it. It was no problem. I haven't even started watching. I think I watched the first episode or the second episode. I watched a little bit with my wife, and I just felt, I lost interest. I didn't find it interesting, so I move on. This is what I do all the time. If I don't like something from the get-go, it's hard for me to keep me, they are interested till the end. So I move on. That's just a problem that I have. It just, maybe I have attention deficit disorder or something like that. I always do. And I don't finish many shows because of that. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I don't review many shows, is because ultimately I don't finish them all, unless they grab my attention. And of course, there are some shows that start kind of weak, but then kind of build momentum, and I stay till the end. So, but it doesn't happen all the time. So I wasn't really into it, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to finish watching it. Probably I do it over this weekend. Probably in the next couple of weeks, I'll take the time. There's so many shows that I need to finish watching. So I wasn't crazy about it. So of course, there's a lot of considerations in regards to what really happened. Some people are saying it's because, of course, she's suffering health problems. She had some hernias or something, some discs that were dislocated or something like that. I read somewhere. And some people were saying that perhaps the discomfort of being in set, in costume, these costumes are so tight, and they make it so tight so, the actors can look good. And it's just more like eye candy stuff. So, of course, she probably got tired of it. She also mentioned at some point that she's been struggling with, with depression and anxiety. And I think she has tried to commit suicide in the past, which it's sad and it's bad. I hope, she's okay. And I hope this is something that works for her. I don't wish anybody bad. At the end of the day, I feel that even though I'm not crazy about the role, she's playing the role. And actually, it was not a bad cast because, she represents the LGBT community. And, of course, Batwoman has always been, since it was created over, 10 years ago for DC. It's pretty much it pays homage to it. To the LGBT community. She's, a gay character. So, she was a perfect role for that. She understands. So, but I wouldn't say that to me that I'm crying because she's gone, because to be honest, I didn't care much. I have never really cared much about the character, and I don't really care much about the show. So ultimately, it's kind of sad. Hopefully she's fine, but of course this is going to create a lot of drama, and some people are already trying to point out or trying to find, of course, again, the people are looking for a conspiracy right there. Maybe because she was, she felt offended, maybe because they're trying to change her character, maybe she wants to play that, and of course they want to make it more like a social justice thing. You're going to find that because people have no time, or at least time to really research the information, and they want to cause any type of misinformation, because sensationalism works and, really pays the bills for a lot of these places, a lot of these sites. It's unfortunate, but many sites like Bleeding Cool, and I'm going to be straightforward. Sometimes I read Bleeding Cool, but I see so much clickbait on that site. And that's not the only one. Almost every single site, it's just clickbait nowadays. That's the reason why I don't even pay attention to the news anymore. Like whether you watching, Fox News or CNN, they're all clickbait. Sometimes I'd rather watch, the BBC, when it comes to about American, news in America, because, Fox and CNN, they are, and, MSNBC, they're all pretty much sided already with what they believe. And instead of sharing the news, they share an opinion. And, mostly it's just opinion that has changed the facts, to accommodate in this case, an idea or a belief. And I'm not for that. But of course, it is what it is. Sorry for the people that were fans of this show. I read some of the reviews of people saying that it was building up and needed more time to build up. So unfortunate, we're not sure if this is going to create a second season anymore. Because if you change the character, then you might as well just change the whole thing. People were starting to like her there, and now she's gone. So definitely that's going to hurt this show for sure. But today I really want to talk about one thing, most importantly about those things, I want to talk about the Justice League, the Snyder Cut. This is something that has been preached, it's been talked about for a very, very, very long time. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to say that I'm crazy about the idea. I'm still going to watch it because that's who I am. I like, to watch this type of things and support it. If I like it, then I keep watching until the end. If I don't like it, then I move on. But yes, in this week, of course, Zack Snyder, he had some type of showcase where he was watching, I think, a film. I don't remember which film it was, but he was watching a film with the fans. And in this live video, he's sharing with fans, and also Henry Cavill shows up there. And he announced, he was asked, what about the Snyder Cut for Justice League? And he said that it's happening. And of course, this has created I would say, a tsunami of information all over the place, people talking about it. And people loving it, people praising each other, they're hugging each other, they're loving each other because they're happy because the Snyder Cut is here. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't crazy about Justice League. But to put this in perspective, because people say, well, you're not a fan of Snyder and you have no right to talk. Well, I have a right to talk because I've been supportive of Snyder. I love a lot of his show. I actually love Watchmen. I really like Watchmen. I don't think it's a perfect story, but I think he did a visual representation of the character. I love 300. Sucker Punch. And in fact, I even own Batman v Superman. This is the Ultimate Edition. And they still book. I think this is a much better version of the original, but not by much. You just added some extra, scenes that actually added more context to the story. And also, here you have Justice League, which I like. Yes, I do. I like Justice League. A lot of people don't like Justice League because the original Justice League, because they think it's so watered down of what the vision of Snyder was. And in my opinion, I like the watered down because, it felt better. The truth of the matter, we have to keep in mind that and I reviewed this in my channel, when it came out, this film, of course, when he was producing it, of course, it was unfortunate. He lost his daughter through suicide, which is very unfortunate. So he had to leave for obvious reasons. He had needed time for himself and his family. And, I'm never going to wish anybody that situation. Never. I have a daughter. My daughter went through also a very traumatic experience, and we were afraid of that at some point. Fortunately, she was able to overcome that depression that she was going through, and even desire of suicide and all of that. She won, and now she's married. So I'm glad for her. But I know as a parent what is going through that challenge of being afraid that if your daughter's going to make it. So it's unfortunate what happened to him. But of course, we know now when this came out, of course, Joss Whedon was brought into the table. He added more color, but we know prior to that, and there was the talks that through the screenings that they were doing, the testings, that the movie wasn't doing so well because of the darkness and the greenness of it, or because it was very dark in the mood. So of course, Joss Whedon kind of fixed some of the things to make it a little more happy, happy go round, and to me that made it better. It doesn't mean that it's the perfect film. It was good for what it was, entertaining, but that's about it. But I don't think the problem lies on the way they did it. The problem lies on the way Warner Brothers want to approach the universe. Instead of building the universe, they just went into the route that make it all cram into one single film. And that was the failure, because you have no connection with these characters beyond what you have seen in one prior film. But you don't have a bigger connection like Marvel did with their films. Before they got into, Thanos, they have to build momentum, and that took years. So I think this was the lazy approach from DC. And it has really not, I would say, much to do with Snyder, although Snyder was definitely the visionary on the whole process. But I think if you have given more time and said, well, Snyder, even Warner Bros. Could have stepped in and said, Snyder, you need to take your time. We'll give you all the resources you need so you can build your momentum. And we need to fix some things here and there, but, we need to build each character, along the way. And, I like Wonder Woman. Different director, different vision, like Wonder Woman, the way she was presented. I like Aquaman. But, that was presented, Aquaman was introduced here instead of having its own solo movie first. And the same with Flash, or Cyborg. You can just do a lot more by just introducing characters little by little. But that's besides the point. That's just water under the bridge. We cannot talk about the past. So now we're talking about this. Of course, now this is going to be a show, actually, not even a film, through HBO Max, and it's going to be presented in different episodes and all that. Of course, HBO belongs to Warner Media, so it's all part of Warner Brothers. So, of course, they want to build the HBO. They have been doing it with some series, but they want to do this in order to bring more people. Of course, they want to compete with Netflix, which is hard, and Disney Plus. They have to do it. They have to do it one way or another by creating the shows. Now, a lot of people are happy and excited, and I'm happy for them. However, as we know so far, the movie was never finished. People always talking about, the Snyder Cut is there, like it was the magical, the mystic pony, or, unicorn somewhere, the golden pot at the end of the rainbow, but it was never there. It was never finished. So technically, this is not like he's bringing something that was already there. It's not. He is just coming back to a project that he feels that he needs to finish because he never had the opportunity, and he wants to really bring some of that stuff. However, not everyone is going to be part of it. We don't know. In this case, we know Henry Cavill is going to be part of it. We know some actors are going to come back, maybe do some voiceover. They're going to do some probably animation. They're going to do some CGI. They're going to do all sort of things. But not everyone is going to be part of it. And this to me, it's like, well, is maybe you adding stuff like they did in this case with Batman v Superman to make it like the ultimate edition. But does that make it better? Yeah, I would say, I think when I, in this case, graded the original was 6.5, and I think I did this 7.5 because it added one extra point. I don't remember how much I graded Justice League, but maybe it's going to add another 1 point, but it's not going to make it a perfect 10. It's not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. But yes, if you extend it into episodes, in this case, you might get some more traction and more insight in certain things. And, at the end of the day, I'm not going to speculate on something that we haven't watched yet. Like people are doing, they congratulate each other, says, we did it, the fans did it. I don't think fans did it. I think money did it. And ultimately, Zack Snyder has some pull with Warner Brothers. And of course, he's going to be a producer as well. So there's some involvement in that. And they want to at least, finalize it in some high note. Because of course, as you know, in this case, the DCEU has already moved into a new dimension, new direction. Now, we don't know how this is going to pan out. We don't know how it's going to work out. I'm going to watch it because I always watch this type of shows. I own every DC movie. Every movie that has been produced on the DC, whether it's animation or whether it's just a regular film, I own them all. So I'm still going to own that one, even though when it comes, it's going to be digital. But then, of course, they're going to have the special edition or whatever on Blu-ray and 4K. I'll have that as well. But, is it going to fix it? That's the question. We cannot simply speculate over something that hasn't been done. I understand, for example, you were saying, it was already there, but it was never, in this case, released to the public. In this case, nothing needs to be released. This is going to be worked out. This is a project that is going to be worked on. And based on prior experience, it might get better visually, but the story still is going to lag because the story wasn't well built. And that has nothing to do with that film. It has to do with the way they build the entire universe. And that goes back to Warner Brothers. The way they started the whole thing was wrong from the get-go. Not necessarily because of the vision of the dark vision of Snyder, but the way they started the universe by not introducing the characters ahead of time. Now, of course, we have more. Now we understand Aquaman better because we already have a movie. Now we understand Wonder Woman because we have a movie and we have another one coming. So now we can see some of that, but not necessarily means that it's going to fix what was done wrong. Now, of course, this is just speculation from my part because we haven't seen it yet. I'm not going to sing the praises yet until I watch it, and then I will make my mind, because I cannot really make a decision based on something that is not here yet, and that's something that it hasn't even been created. It's like talking about, oh, I have the best car in the world, the fastest car in the world, but I still need to build it. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is. That's what they're saying. It's saying like we have the most powerful machine in the world. It's like when Xbox was saying we have the most powerful machine in the world. It's better than anything else that has been made, but we haven't built it yet. We need to we're working on it. And of course, they lied to you saying they have the best, or the gaming company said we have the best, the biggest world in the world. We have the biggest game. It's going to be a nice place to hang out. You're going to do all sort of things in this big map. And once you get that, it's an empty, barren land that is nothing to play and there's no fun in it. So it was just an empty promise. So, this is the thing. You can promise me that you're going to give me the most beautiful thing in the world, but if you haven't built it yet, that there's no connection. There's nothing to match it with. And people saying, well, Justice League was a masterpiece, Batman v Superman was a masterpiece. I'm sorry, but it wasn't. Maybe in your perception was, but in mine it wasn't, and the vast majority of the people, it wasn't. Not saying, and the one thing that I hate the most, and I'm gonna be honest here, I'm getting very excited with this. And people always say, well, it's because some people like trash, and some people, are better and liking this. And most of the time, the person that is telling me that is a 20-year-old that doesn't even have lived long enough to understand, the differences in the world. Yes, because you like it. Just because you have fun with it doesn't make it a masterpiece. I'm sorry. If we have to compare things in this and that, you have to realize that I'm older than you. I'm twice your age. I've watched twice the movies you have ever watched, perhaps even more. And because I have what? Because you're probably, you're only 20 years old, after a few years you started watching films. You were allowed to watch certain films. Yeah, and I'm a little longer than that. So I've been watching films far longer than you. And I watched films even before there was a rating system where they didn't allow to watch certain things. When our parents let us watch whatever. So, when it comes about that, I have more experience. And I'm saying that my experience or the amount of movies makes me a better, an expert. Doesn't mean that my opinion is better than yours. But it means I have more experience. So, in that end, I would say if you tell me that I don't like art, then you're that's a dumb assumption, because I like art. I love all sort of movies, from black and white and all that. But to be honest with you, it wasn't a masterpiece. It wasn't. Batman v Superman wasn't a masterpiece. It was a nice, the cinematics were good, the graphics were good, the suits were good, all of that, but it lacked in the story, and the plot was weak. Justice League attempted to fix some of that. It has more comedy and all, but still, it was weak because it's a follow-up to Batman v Superman. It's all it is. Of course, this is my opinion. I got heated with it, and this is what the podcast is all about. And sometimes people say, well, you took forever just to talk about this subject, and my mind is like, well, did you read the title? It says podcast. This is a podcast. I'm going to share my opinion. I'm going to get passionate about it, and whether you like it or not, that's just the way it is. And this is the platform that I share to be myself in that sense and really share how I feel. Now, again, going back to it, do I think that it's going to be better? I hope so. That's my hope. And I do believe that the format, allowing it to be stretched that way, it's an interesting idea. But it depends on who is going to be involved in it. Hopefully everybody. Hopefully Ben Affleck gets involved in it. I'm not sure he wants to reprise his role or do some extra scenes. But only time can tell. I'm happy for the people that are happy. They've been asking for this. They got it. However, again, this is not finished. It hasn't even been started. Everything they have is what they have. And what they're going to work on is just trying to add more stuff to it. And ultimately, the fans will decide at the end of it. And of course, some fans are still going to love it no matter what because they already love the original. So this is going to add more to it. But the people that didn't like it, they're still going to dislike it no matter what. And you can grab a bag of poop and put a bow on it and call it a GIF. Still a bag of poop, and that's the way I see it. But at the end of the day, someone's trash is someone else's treasure. So this might apply here as well. We'll see. 2021 is still far off right now with the world. We might go to, the apocalypse might come before that, the end of times, but you never know. You never know. Right now with everything is so uncertain. I think that what they have the best wishes, and I hope, Snyder gets what he wants in the end, to finalize something that he wanted to work on and he was working on. And hopefully he gets it, because at the end of the day, we all need closure, and I'm sure that he needs that as well. It's part of emotional healing as well for him and his family. So on that end, I'm all for it. But to think that it's going to be an Oscar-worthy film, or in this case, show, in this case, an Emmy award-winning show, it's, we don't know. Time will tell. But what is your opinion? That is the question. I don't know. I have a lot of doubts on this one. Normally I have a firm idea. I do have an idea on this, but not necessarily I have my hopes up. And I just want to talk about it because everybody's talking about it, and a lot of people are praising it. And it's just every time I open Facebook on my phone or whatever, on my computer, everybody's talking about it. Like, oh, that's the best thing that ever happened. In my mind, it hasn't happened yet. So we don't know if it's going to work out or not. Just because you have it, just because you have a promise, a voucher doesn't make it that you have the house. Just because you sign the house doesn't give you the key. Like you can sign for a house, to buy a house, but everything can fall apart in the process while you're trying to buy the house. Initially you have to sign the paperwork before you buy the house, and you go into a process before you actually own the house with the keys. So it is the way it is. We don't know yet. You don't know if it's going to work out, if it's going to work out, if it's going to be good. Only we can do is just, hope and wait. That's all we can do. But my friends, again, what is your opinion on this? Let me know in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast through the different platforms, you can come to Facebook. You can leave your comments there. You can go to Twitter. You can also share that, and let me know how you feel. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm missing something here. Let me know what you think, and we can have a discussion there, a respectful discussion, of course. My friends, take care. God bless you. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.